The process, something that has been prominent for almost my entire time as a serious basketball fan. It was something that started as a wild concept pushed into reality, to a movement an entire city was able to get behind. But you know what? It was an absolute failure, because where the Sixers are now isn't what the process was supposed to end up being. But why did the process fail? Well, it's not as simple as one thing that caused the process to fail. It's multiple things that caused the process to fail. And today, I'm going to talk about those things in this video. But before we get into today's video, I've noticed that about 60.5% of you guys that watch my videos happen to not be subscribed. So having default at 60.5%, or you just happen to be new and like what you see, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos to take elements from film essays and apply them to basketball. I also make videos covering the NBA draft and high school basketball as well. So if any of those things are of an interest to you, this is the channel for you. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Now, this isn't exactly what you probably think this is going to be. I'm not going to blast the Philadelphia 76ers for passing on some future All-Stars, because a lot of the picks they made actually made sense at the time. Trading Drew Holiday for Noah may seem foolish in hindsight, but Noah was a projected first overall pick that slid out of the top 5 due to injuries. Jahlil Okafor was in legit contention for the first overall pick, and getting what many thought was the second best player in the draft with the third pick made sense at the time. Now, yeah, drafting 3 big men in a row does seem pretty stupid in hindsight and was definitely very bold at the time, but given the value that many believe Nerlens and Okafor had at those draft selections, honestly made sense at the time. And when you think about it, the guys who would have been major difference makers on that Sixers team that they passed up on would have been viewed as reaches at the time. I think drafting Giannis 6th overall would have gotten his GM fired at the time, and drafting Booker at number 3 would have been viewed as a massive reach at the time as well. So it's more about the picks just not panning out rather than it is about them being bad picks at the time. Now, obviously, something that I never thought made sense, and I still don't think makes sense, was the Mikal Bridges for Zaire Smith swap. But that's another story for another time, and that's like the one that I think you can just look at and say, okay, that was just straight up not a good move, and you don't really have to go into the context with it. But other than that, I definitely think that there's context behind a lot of the bad draft selections that the Philadelphia 76ers made. Injuries, in my opinion, have had a massive impact on the Sixers throughout the process. From 2013 to 2016, only one Philadelphia 76ers top 10 pick has made his NBA debut in the same year he was drafted, and that was Jahlil Okafor in 2015. Noah, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons all missed at least one season prior to making their NBA debut, and Embiid missed the first 2 seasons before he made his NBA debut. Also, with the stars like Embiid and Simmons, despite both of them showing All-NBA and All-Defense level play, have dealt with injuries throughout their NBA careers. Embiid has suffered multiple of them, including in the 2019 playoffs where he clearly was playing hurt and it clearly was affecting his play. And who knows, maybe if he's healthy, they win the title that year, because they were a few bounces away from changing history with him playing hurt. And Ben Simmons did miss the entire playoffs in 2020. So injuries have been another factor into why the Sixers just haven't been able to stay healthy, especially with their stars. Of course, now that I think about it, that's a very, very obvious statement. Yeah, if they're dealing with injuries, that means they can't stay healthy. And yeah, I'm just going to end this section now. Ben Simmons, since making his NBA debut, has actually been very good from the jump. He basically entered the league as a top 30 player. He's been a consistent triple-double threat, he's one of the best passers in the league, and he's developed into one of the best defenders in the league as well. However, he hasn't improved on his biggest weaknesses, which is a massive problem. The first one being his shooting ability. He only takes threes when the game is at a hand or when the shot clock or game clock is running down. Also, his form has been awful for years, and that dates back to even high school, and I think he actually might be shooting with the wrong hand. However, that's not the biggest problem with this game, despite what people on Twitter and what people in the media are gonna try to say. The biggest problem with this game is he's not aggressive. Despite having a near 7-foot frame with 240 pounds of muscle, great movement skills, and a good handle, he doesn't attack nearly as often as he should. When he attacks downhill, no one can stop him one-on-one outside of maybe guys like Bam Adebayo or Giannis Antetokounmpo. And even with help defenders, he can still be a bruise. So I think Ben Simmons' lack of aggression and improvement as a shooter has held the Sixers back. More emphasis on the lack of aggression, because there are moments when he is aggressive and he looks dominant, but we just don't see that enough. And because of that, he hasn't really lived up to that max level contract, and he hasn't lived up to the talent that he has either. This is something that I believe ties into almost all the previous problems with the process. Here's the thing, at the time, trading up to the first overall pick to draft Markelle Fultz made sense. Markelle was an amazing prospect who many, including myself, thought was the best player in the draft. He was a great shot creator off the dribble, he had a really good handle, he was really athletic with long arms, he was a great slasher with good body control when finishing around the basket, and he was a good passer as well. He had all the makings of a future franchise cornerstone guard, someone who could play the 1 and the 2 at a very high level, like a James Harden or a Damian Lillard, or even to go back a long time ago, someone like a Brandon Roy. And the Sixers needed, and still do need, a player like this. Yes, in hindsight, taking Tatum would have been the right move, but at the time it made sense given what the Sixers needed and the pedigree of player Fultz was. However, due to a major career-altering injury, he never was able to live up to the talent he possesses in Philadelphia. Injuries that hindered his ability to shoot and his confidence really played a gigantic factor into this, and in the end he was traded to Orlando in just his second season, where he does actually seem to be turning it around and hopefully can get his career back on track. However, if Fultz doesn't deal with those injuries in the first place, I think the process ends up working out. Because if Fultz doesn't get hurt, he's a clear number 2 option on this team as a scorer and a passer, and it would have allowed Ben Simmons to play a more natural playmaking two-way power forward role rather than the role that many are trying to pencil him into given his talent and given the contract that he has. Fultz's skill set before the injury was exactly what the Sixers need, and if he didn't get hurt and panned out in Philadelphia, a lot of the problems would have been solved. In the end, why the process failed isn't the ideal principle of the concept. I think you can tear it down and rebuild if you feel the team is stuck. And I'm a firm believer in the idea that being stuck in mediocrity is way worse than being bad and rebuilding. However, here's where the process went wrong. Timing. Timing was a big factor in all of this. It just so happened to be that the best available player with the 3rd pick in 2015 happened to play a style of basketball that would be obsolete in a few years. The injuries to Markelle Fultz, you really couldn't predict those. Ben Simmons not improving the way that you probably would have hoped he did. That's not something you can predict either. Of course, you have to look at other factors as well with the front office, which probably deserve its own video. However, I do believe in this principal idea that you can tear it down and restart if you're stuck in mediocrity. However, you must have a plan. But in the end, I just think that the process started in a weird transition period in basketball, and I do believe that if the process started in 2016 instead of 2013, I think it would have gone a lot more smoothly because the league would be in a more clear state of what you need in modern basketball. So in the end, the process failed because of multiple things, not just one thing. It failed because of injuries, bad draft picks that probably made sense at the time, but in all, I think the biggest thing and the biggest reason why the process failed was it just starting in a weird transition period of basketball. But that is the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, do all those things, be a big help to me. Let me know what you think about the process below. What worked, what didn't, do you think it worked, do you think it didn't work? What could they have done better? Do you like the idea of tanking? We'd love to hear stuff like that in the comment section below. If you have more time, go watch another video. I have over 400 videos on this channel talking about basketball. So if you have basketball and you have more time, I'm willing to bet you'll find something else that you like. So if you have more time, go watch another video. I'd really appreciate that. But with that being said, have a nice day.